I'm Steven Roddy, and this is my wife Renata Roddy, co-founders of Modern Beauty Con. And today we're at Allergan Medical Institute with the Vice President, Matt Williams. So we're going to be asking him some questions about how Allergan as a whole, through AMI, is changing the landscape of education in the world of aesthetics.
We're very excited.
Yeah. So Matt, welcome to the interview.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for spending some time here at AMI Orange County. We're super happy to have you.
Do you want to drill with the first question there?
Yes, so what trends have you been seeing in the aesthetic education as the industry continues to grow at record speed? What are some of the trends that you're noticing?
Yeah, I mean, this is such a dynamic market, you both know, and there's constantly changes in terms of the trends. I think we're also seeing that the interest and the expectations of patients continue to evolve. So we see that putting a lot more pressure on the injectors in terms of what they need to do to continually invest in their education. And we see that there's a great opportunity not only to invest in that education, but make sure that there's a continuum of learning for those injectors so they can continue to develop their skills. And so that's what we're excited about when it comes to AMI and these new training centers, is really putting a foundation in that gives them a place to come and be part of a community that is really hungry for education around aesthetics.
Yeah, well, I know when Renata got started 8 years ago, she took a weekend course and it's like 1 or 2 models. I was actually her first patient. And it's like, all right, you're off into the wild now. Why is that no longer just sustainable for the industry?
Yeah, I think those courses still play a great role. What we're trying to do is think about what's the and. How do we supplement that with more consistency in the training? So as we thought about these training centers, we wanted to make sure that we have an opportunity to have consistency from class to class. We want to meet the needs of that new injector through our foundational classes and really give them a more immersive experience so that they get that foundation in anatomy, they get a foundation around safety. Patient safety is one of the most important things that we teach. And we want to spend a lot of time on technique, as well as consultation and assessment. Those are critical elements for someone who is coming into the space. So with the AMI training centers and the AMI ecosystem overall, we focus on those areas and we want to make sure that we do that in a very consistent way. And we think that will help to really create that foundation and challenge those injectors who are looking to do more. We see that injectors who have spent a lot of time in the space, they are very hungry for more advanced education, and so we have courses for them as well in anatomy, in patient safety, as well as the evolving injectables course. So we're trying to meet the needs of both and do it in a very consistent way.
Yeah, so there is hope for the person who just takes a weekend crash course. There is additional training there that they can get.
For sure.
Yeah,
What do you
for
feel like is the gap between, like the gap in knowledge between newer providers, but even experienced injectors as well that
Yeah.
AMI can facilitate with?
It's a great question, and I think of it more in terms of what we've heard from injectors we've worked with, particularly our AMI faculty, some of the folks that have been with us for a long time. They describe their early days in aesthetics as this quilted patchwork of training where they had to go and just find the right courses to continue to give them the skills and the knowledge that they needed. So what we've tried to do is bring all of that together and create that consistency by having a clinical team that is dedicated to the space, continuing to partner with AMI faculty to bring them into the training center courses as experts and connections. We talked about this a little bit earlier, that the connections within aesthetics are so important. It is a community, and we want to make sure that the learners who come through these centers feel the support from that community and know where to go if they have questions, if they need additional support, so that ultimately the patients are getting the best care possible and that they're getting safe and the outcomes that they really desire.
Yeah.
I know the quilted patchwork was definitely Renata when we started with her, and we would bring in one trainer, we would attend this conference over there, and that's why we started Modern Beauty Con, is because we realized there was really no training coming up to us in the New England area. So, and I know that her training has really impacted the profitability of our spa, but it was challenging. So from your perspective, after creating these centers, how does like that ongoing education, that enhanced training, how would that directly correlate into a more profitable spa?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think there's a couple elements to it. One, I think the heartbeat, and you know this better than anyone, the heartbeat of a successful practice is happy patients. They're satisfied. That word of mouth that they take out into the community about the care and about the outcomes that they're receiving is critical for growth, and that's going to bring in new patients. It's also going to make sure that those patients stick with the practices that they're currently with. So as I think about investing in education, it really is just that. It's an investment that, whether it's the business owner or the injector themselves, that they're making, and that enhancement of consultation skills to be able to address what is most pressing for that patient, and then having the techniques and the tools to be able to deliver that outcome, those are critical. And again, it's around how do we make sure that baseline of safety is always included in what we do. I think one of the things that I hear commonly from the owners of practices is injector loyalty and retention is such an important aspect, that's their most valuable asset, is that injector in the practice. So we think of these centers and the courses that we offer as a great way to help drive that loyalty, show that continued investment and development of your team. And we can do that clinically with some of the courses we have. We can do it around anatomy to enhance. And we also have practice builder courses that are designed both for the injector to think about efficiency in their workday and their workflow, but also the owner in terms of how can they leverage the tools around things like Alley or just best practices in practice marketing to continue to grow their practice.
Yeah, because I mean, the more education you have, the more that you're like, oh, we can add in this additional product to get them even better results.
Yeah.
Our office manager, we had a patient come out of the treatment room the other day, and she was like, Renata, you're doing the Lord's work. You're shaving years, like decades off these people's lives within like an hour. And so it was really hilarious. But that person, now when they come out and they see themselves in the mirror, you know, because of just Allergan products, and it's like, oh, of course I'm going to be loyal to this provider and this practice. So yeah, we're really grateful.
And it must make you feel fantastic to hear that feedback.
Absolutely. I feel like one of the greatest things with AMI is that it's all encompassing. Of course, there is that huge focus on providers, but there's also a lot of support for office managers and for like the people on the back end, so to speak, of the practice. So I really kind of treasure that, because when you start, there's so much, as you've already mentioned, that's involved in starting a practice, and my brain at least was just thinking clinical. And then as it starts to grow, it's like, well, wait a minute, there's all of these other components that is a huge factor into making it successful. So with that, like, how do you feel like AMI, the training center, is different than other trainings that are out there, or even conferences?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things I would emphasize. One, again, it starts with safety. We want to make sure that as we're training injectors, that we're helping them understand what they can do and understanding the limitations of what maybe they're not ready to do yet. Making sure that they're focused on how to deliver that best outcome for the patient. The second piece is we want to marry up that art and science. So, you know, from an Allergan aesthetics perspective, we want to make sure that we focus in on the science. The products that we bring to the market have rigorous scientific backing, and that's really important to us, so we want to pull that through in the training that we do. We also know that we're fortunate to have a great pipeline and a very strong R&D innovation platform, so we want to continue to push the boundaries as well, from innovating in how we train, because that's another big part of innovation. And the fourth part is we have a long history of practice consulting through our Allergan practice consultants and partnering with clinics over the last 20 years. So we've harnessed all of that knowledge and packaged it up in a way to look at what are the best practices. We call it practice growth, but a lot of what we're teaching is actually about the efficiency of workflow and how do you work as a team? How do you make sure that your day is scheduled so that you build in time with the appropriate patients to have that additional consultation time, or that you can just really enhance the client experience as that patient is working through the practice. So we try to blend all of those together, because training on one specific indication or one specific area of the face doesn't really serve the injector community well. We want to make that holistic approach to how do they work within their practice and grow their business.
So we actually started working with Allergan Growth through Susan, who's just awesome, by the way. And we've only been working with her for about 45 days, something like that. But we've already seen an ROI on our investment for the year. And I mean, I would highly recommend anybody watching to look into that. One of my mentors told me, like, Steven, like, how someone does some things is how they do everything. And Renata you and her were talking about the ergonomics of just the syringes.
Yeah.
And the detail that Allergan has as a company as a whole has always been really impressive to me. And walking through the AMI centers and you pointing out all the different details, I mean, even down, like one of the rooms, if you walk in and you see the treatment rooms and you like the bed, you like the floor, you like the cabinets, like you can basically just plug in and shipping to your place.
Recreate it.
Yeah, they recreate, it's awesome.
Very innovative.
Yeah, each room is a little different, but it's like all these details, I really love it. But you said something that, okay, the building gets the most attention, and it's like a lot of little cool nuances like that. But you said the curriculum is what you're most proud of.
Yeah.
And so talk to us about like the rigor that went into developing that, and why it's kind of maybe different from a one-off that they might bring somebody into their office for a private training, or even attending a conference like Modern Beauty Con.
Yeah, and I think all of these things work well together, and we, like I said in the beginning, I think we view the training centers as an and it's that next kind of generation that supports everything else that we're doing. The curricula, we've spent a lot of time initially up front just outlining what does the injector journey look like? What does their development look like? And in some ways it's connected to time in practice, but in many ways it's connected to a lot of other variables in terms of training, in terms of what techniques are they actually applying in their practice, and each of those steps takes different things to get them to the next element or the next evolution of their journey. So we started with a learning journey, and then everything that we've built, we've done with our AMI faculty that has been with us, and we can't do any of this without the AMI faculty. They are best in class, and they really have helped us build the reputation of AMI, so we're extremely thankful to that group. So we partnered with them, we partnered with Dr. Sami Khalifian, who is our AMI Training Center Medical Director. We've also partnered with all of the resources we have here at Allergan. I mean, we are actually on the global headquarters here in Irvine. And so we have access to R&D, medical affairs, all of the folks who have worked to build this business, Mitchell Brin being one of them, a great innovator in this space. So we're able to tap into that knowledge, and we've built a dedicated curricula team within AMI that they love to, and they'll appreciate the way that I say this, they love to nerd out on digging into the clinicals and making sure that our protocols are in line with everything that has been proven out from a clinical rigor perspective. So I think that the magic in these centers, they are beautiful. There is no doubt. We designed them that way with intent, but the experience that the injectors have as they go through, that's the magic. We want to make sure that they go home confident and truly feeling like they are able to apply the skills. And a lot of that is dedicated to making sure that we have enough hands-on time for them. Part of the immersive experience is that it's not just one model. I love that that's where you started, and we see that a lot. It's a family member, it's a friend, but we want to have, when injection courses are happening here, we want to have a lot of models, a lot of hands-on, a lot of technique, so that those injectors walk away very confident.
Yeah, I definitely feel it's very, very important, because when I very first did my training, it was very limited, and so therefore I'm very kind of type A and perfectionist, so it took me forever to really get going because I just didn't feel comfortable. So I think having providers be a part of a training that they are gonna be exposed to several different models, and just get that repetition until they're at least comfortable enough is very, very important. So that's awesome. What do you feel like in terms of the courses? Are there different tracks for providers based on experience level? I'm curious how that's sort of mapped out.
Yeah, for sure. And that's across all of the AMI programs that we have. So we offer programs in clinic at providers' locations. We have programs that we do in field, and then we have our programs that are here in the training center. And so our goal is to connect those experiences. Everything should be consistent. You shouldn't feel like you're getting one unique direction in an in-clinic treatment or an in-clinic training versus an in-center training. But here in the center, we have a foundational course, which that's for that new injector. We've had injectors come through that have never held a syringe before.
Wow.
So we're teaching them where to stand,
Yeah.
how to hold, the ergonomics, how to hold a syringe. We have evolving courses that are for that injector that has been at it for a few years, and they're in sort of that intermediate range, and they're looking to really take their skills to the next level. So the evolving course is perfect for that injector, and it's a more intensive course. It's 3 weeks of training over a 4-month period. Then we also offer for that skilled injector, we have an immersive anatomy course, which is a 1.5 days, and that course is a lot of hands-on, and it's also a lot of rheology and understanding where is that product being placed, so that you can identify potential, any safety concerns, but also how to get that best result for the patient. And then we also have the business course. So the practice growth course is very much I would think of it as, a consulting engagement all wrapped up into one, so that you get a lot of the tools that you need and really get jump-started into the marketplace. So we try to meet injectors where they are, so that way they can really choose what's the next best thing for them in terms of advancing their skills.
So let's say I'm a new, not even a new injector, but I'm new to the AMI training centers. I walk through the door, what's my experience, like what is the expectation, what can I expect?
Yeah. So I hope the first thing that you have is just a bit of a wow, right? And hopefully that's
I think
what
you're definitely gonna be getting that.
We had coffee waiting, so that was a wow for us.
Well, we certainly try to customize and make everything very unique and special. We do want to immerse the learners in the experience of aesthetics, and so part of that is the visual. Like we just talked about, a lot of it is the curriculum itself, and we are truly trying to make sure that class to class you have a very consistent experience, and that each course builds upon the other. And I think importantly, we want the learners who come through the center to walk away feeling like they're part of a bigger community, that they have support, and that they now have hopefully 30 or 40 connections that they're going to be able to reach out to. As we talked before, that's one of the most important things, is that you're getting a foundation of knowledge, you continue to have hunger for advancing that knowledge, and that you have a support network to help you implement it in your practice. So the last thing I would say is that I hope our learners walk away feeling like I am really impressed with Allergan as a partner, and 2, that I feel like they've really helped to prepare me for this next part of my journey.
One of the neat things that you said right when we walked in, like if you're flying in from the airport, like let's say we came here directly from the airport, we had our luggage, there was even a space where we could park our luggage, so then we could just mentally, a locker room, so we could just mentally shift over to in the training. So circling back to how you do some things, how you do everything, Renata and I, we've had situations with different vendors where how they show up isn't necessarily in alignment with what they're claiming that their product can do. And so one of the really things I appreciate about Allergan is just walking through these facilities and seeing how much detail goes into, here's where we're gonna put the bags, or here's what you're going to experience when you walk through, the sense, all those little nuances. To me, it just adds a level of credibility and integrity to the overall product.
Well, I definitely appreciate the compliments, and I would just say that it has been a huge team effort across, you know, AMI, our AbbVie counterparts, our corporate communications. I mean, there have been so many hands. There's not enough time in this podcast for me to thank everyone.
Roll the
but,
credits.
It's a huge team effort, and you know, that attention to detail is really important. You know, I think about on the way here, I was dropping my son at school, and one of the first things they do is they put their cell phones in a pouch so that they don't have access to it for the day. And that's kind of the same, even though it seems silly, we want to take those distractions away, and we want the attendees at the center really immersing themselves, because it's an investment for them as well, whether it's in dollars or it's in dollars that the practice has, you know, given them for continuing education. But most importantly, we want them to walk away with, you know, new skills, new insights, and hopefully believing that Allergan Aesthetics is a fantastic partner as well.
Are there any upcoming AMI trainings that our Modern BeautyCon community should be on their radar that you want to share?
For sure. So all of the programs that I mentioned before, the foundational injectables, evolving injectables, the patient safety, which is a complications management course, immersive anatomy, and practice growth are all open currently at our Irvine or our AMI OC Center, as well as AMI Atlanta. In probably the middle of 2026, we will open up the third center, which will be in Austin, Texas. And to get access to those, you can go to amionline.com, click on training centers, or if you want to take a longer run at it, you can do trainingcenters.amionline.com. But amionline.com is the easiest way to get there. So, but yeah, they're
and you
they're
just
open
register
and
and
available.
pay right there, and then that's it.
Yep, register and
Easy.
pay, and if there are any questions, we have a whole team ready to support. One of the common questions we get is around licensure if you're coming in from out of state. So we have a support team that will help with that, and we have tools to help injectors work through that so that it makes it as easy as possible. So the resources are there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, Matt,
So-
thank you so much for the insight. Thank you for the tour.
Yeah.
And,
Thank you so much.
yeah, we'll be posting a lot of photos and videos for
Yes.
everybody to see it through our lens.
Well, thank you both so much. We really appreciate you being here. So thank you for
you.
the time.